Hey everyone, I'm Grant and welcome back to the channel. I am continuing work on trying to get the BEW TDI engine running in my right-hand drive TJ Wrangler, but I am going to switch focus slightly on what I'm going to install today because I got several parts in that I want to go ahead and get mounted. I got in this air-to-air intercooler, so I can't remember if I have announced this or not yet, but I am ditching the water-to-air intercooler setup on my rig, and I'm doing that for a couple of reasons. I had been having problems trying to figure out where I was going to mount the water tank and everything needed for the water-to-air setup. And because I don't want to deal with heat issues going highway interstate speeds, I decided to go air-to-air. It's going to be actually mounted this way because my turbo and intake are both on the same side, and it's going to be mounted inside my front grille. So I am going to start by disassembling the front grille and getting the intercooler installed into the front grille, because the other thing I need to do is remake the high pressure line that goes from my Hydro Boost to my power steering box, because right now it is too close to the turbine housing on my turbo. I'm actually going to route it underneath and up along my fender and down into the power steering box, but I need to have the front grille installed to make sure I get the lines right and I'm not interfering with anything. So with that said, I'm going to get to work.
I started by removing the factory radiator and the heat exchanger. Next, I placed the new intercooler into the grill along with the AC condenser and my radiator to see how my clearances looked. I removed the headlight so I could cut the grill without damaging it. With the headlight removed, it was time to start chopping up my front grill. I did a bunch of test fitting of the intercooler and marking my grill, cutting out as little metal as I needed to make clearances for both the intercooler and the charge pipes. After I finished cutting my grill, I turned my attention to modifying the bracket on the side of my factory radiator. I had to cut out the same areas that I had cut out on the grill to make clearances for the charge pipes coming out of the intercooler.
Hey everyone, so this is the next day. I have gone to my local farm supply store because they sell hardware by the pound, which I absolutely love. And I got a whole bunch of hardware, mostly because I've been going through the stuff I have in my shop anyway, but I got a whole bunch of different sizes so I could go ahead and mount this air-to-air intercooler in the grill of my TJ Wrangler. And the nice thing I just realized is they've actually tapped it so it goes in straight. So what I'm going to do now is put in some bolts so I can mark on the grill where I need to drill the hole. I'm going to align it, make sure I'm happy with where it's going, and then we're going to drill and start trying to mount this air-to-air intercooler into my grill. With that said, I'm going to get to work.
And here's where I started making mistakes. I didn't think to install the grill back onto my Jeep to check to see if I was going to have any clearance issues with where I was trying to drill the holes for the bolts to hold my intercooler inside the grill. This was when I realized that the bolts were preventing the hood from shutting, and then also I wasn't going to be able to have my factory hood latch installed either.
Alright, so here's the update. I had to remove the hood latch, which I'm not thrilled about, but then, in trying to still shut the hood, these two bolts are hitting. Now, I could get the rounded Allen head bolts. That's easy enough to go buy. The problem is, right now, even if I went with those bolts, the hood will still hit. So what I need to do is actually tilt the intercooler out a good inch so the bolts are not going to interfere with the hood. Okay, I'm going to try a couple of things and see if I can make this work.
After removing the intercooler and figuring out the distance between its two mounting holes, I spent several minutes figuring out the best place to drill new holes to mount the intercooler to my grill. After confirming I no longer had a hood clearance issue, I went about removing the brackets I had originally made on my heat exchanger, as I was going to reuse those brackets and modify them to hold the bottom of the intercooler to the bottom of my grill.
So I have the air-to-air intercooler mounted. It didn't go where I actually thought it was originally going to go. I actually thought it was going to be more to the right here if you're looking at the front of the grill. But just because of the way the grill is and the way the hood shuts onto the grill and everything, I did end up having to shift it. The first set of holes I drilled to mount it, I couldn't actually shut the hood. The head of the bolts were interfering with the hood, so that meant I had to move it to where I could still shut the hood. So this is what it looks like from front on. As you can see, it's pretty balanced left to right and top to bottom. And if we come in from the engine bay side, you can see how everything is. Now, I did put some scrap silicone hose on here because the way I've mounted the top, this is actually kind of free floating, but I don't know if you're going to be able to see this on camera. I have a washer, a lock washer, and then a nut securing it to the intercooler itself. Now, on the bottom here, I just have two aluminum brackets. I have one here and one here, and that's preventing it from moving left to right, but I think that's going to work really well. I got in my box of all the boost piping I had ordered, so I'm going to work today on connecting my BEW TDI to the intercooler I installed. I actually found this, which I didn't realize was the perfect outlet I needed and inlet to connect to the turbo, and it's already been cut. I don't remember what this originally was used for, but it's kind of perfect. So I'm going to start at the turbo and work my way to that lower inlet. Now, before I start cutting this pipe, the other thing I am going to do is mount my AC condenser, because I want to go ahead and get this hard line bolted up, because I want to make sure I'm going to have no clearance issues, because I really do want to have AC once this diesel swap is done. So that's how I'm going to get started.
After getting the silicone hose onto the turbo housing, I did install a boost clamp to secure it in place. Next, I attached a 45-degree angle pipe and a 90-degree angle pipe onto the intercooler before test fitting the AC condenser to make sure I wasn't going to have any clearance issues. With all my clearances looking good, I went about connecting the turbo to my lower intercooler inlet. I ended up cutting a significant portion of this one hose to get it to fit correctly onto the intercooler. Next, I installed the billet race pipe onto the intake of my TDI. I found a 180-degree bend silicone hose that I realized if I cut in half and made into an S-pipe, it would work perfectly. After that, it was just a matter of connecting everything together.
I have the charge pipes installed, and it went very quickly and very smoothly. A lot easier than the intercooler, but I think that's because I spent the time making sure the intercooler was in a good place, so it made it easier to mount these pipes. Now, I am having to get different clamps. The clamps I ordered were supposed to be for a 2-inch charge pipe, and they're not. They just accidentally sent me the wrong thing, so that's an easy fix. The other thing I will be doing once I have other stuff mounted is use this remnant silicone hose and put it in areas where it's kind of tight, especially around the grill, so when the Jeep's vibrating or the hoses are moving or bulging under high boost, if it is going to rub anywhere, I want it to rub on this remnant hose, not on my charge pipes themselves. But with that said, that's all I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. Goodbye.